Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and just like in one of the previous videos, I reviewed some of the new things and new functionalities that are available in the NS Panel Pro. I think it is also due to do the same with the iHost because I haven't really looked at some of the new stuff, and actually there are some bigger changes in the iHost which probably warrants a separate video. So I think I'm just going to go through some of the smaller things that I picked up from the changelog which could be relevant to look at. So first of all, when I talk about new device support, what I mean is that obviously with newer Zigbee devices that has to be supported by the iHost, or new EV-Link devices can be controlled over the iHost, but that also means that these devices would be available in the integration. So let's say you can also control them through Node-RED, or you can also control through the Homebridge integration. So they would be available in your Apple Home application as well. So here the most notable changes is the TRV, so the thermostatic radiator valve, which I don't have, so I don't have a review video on that, but I do have the most latest models, which is the water leakage sensor and the water valve. But you know, they are obviously working on iHost because when they release it, then they are available and they can be used. The other notable things here in the area is, I think I have showed this in previous videos that we have a Zigbee map now. So now you can see what are your end devices and routers. So here, my Zigbee network is very sparse at the moment, but you can see that you have the iHost, the coordinator, and you have all these end devices, and then some of them you have also the link between them. I'm constantly moving my devices around, so you probably have a much nicer view on this, but that's also quite helpful to understand what are the devices that have a lowest link quality, and where you would be able to put, let's say, a new mains power device that can act as a router, and you can enhance your mesh network. The other thing is, probably the most notable change, is that whenever you are selecting any device, then the device controls come up in a pop-up or in a card layout. So previously when you clicked on something, then you would immediately, if it was a switch, then you could switch that device on and off, or it was a temperature sensor, then it will show you temperature and humidity. But now everything comes up in this pop-up card screen, which I think it's a little bit more intuitive and easier to see. And also some of these have some additional features. So, by default, obviously this TH1 is maybe not connected, but they have, okay, some of my devices are offline. So they have, on-off switches, the on-off controls, obviously, that you can operate them. And if you have anything which supports, well, this one supports multiple channels, so you can do the different channels as well. But if you have a single gang switch, like, okay, this is multiple gang as well, but the POW, well, that's a 2-all device. But I'm trying to get to one where you can also create the schedules and the timers as well. And it's a little bit unfortunate that I cannot find any such device at the moment, but if you have seen my new Zigbee Mini Extreme video, then that is a simple 1-gang Wi-Fi switch, and you have the on-off function just like here, but then on below you have options to create schedules and timers and loop timers. So all the features that you would have access to in the EV-Link application if you would use the same device with, let's say, an NS Panel Pro or a new Zigbee bridge, you have this functionality here as well. And I think that's quite nice because you could do the same feature in the iHost by setting up some scenes, but then especially if you're using these schedules a lot, you would have a lot of scenes. And now I think by having the schedules here in this card screen, it is a little bit more organized, and your scenes on the second screen here are more reserved for the actual cross device integration, as opposed to like the schedules, which is triggered and acted on the same device. So I think in terms of like a unified look and feel, it's a better option. And of course, for other devices which have sensors like this temperature and humidity sensor, you can access these features here as well. So yeah, that's nice. I mean, you still have access to the settings, and again, the settings also appears in this card as opposed to like the the right floating menu, which used to be here. So a cleaner look and feel, probably easier to control. So I'm quite happy with this new layout. Since we are talking about the layout, let me also just point out that there is a new search functionality available as well. So that allows you to create a quick search. So if you quickly want to filter your devices, so if I only want to do switches, then I can do that. Well, it looks like that this search is case sensitive, which is not ideal. So if I do have a couple of like wind sensors here, so if I do wind, then it doesn't show anything. I have to, you know, do capital wind because I started all these sensors. Okay, this window is capital here. So again, I think it would make more sense if this wouldn't be case sensitive, because you never know whether that word is in the beginning, so it starts with a capital letter. But maybe this is something that they can you know, fix in the upcoming firmware update. Also, something which is not really visible here is that now the iHost supports OTA update of devices, Zigbee devices. So iHost would be able to update the firmware on the Zigbee devices. I haven't really seen any such firmware update up on yet. So now if I'm at the person sensor, so this is one of the present sensors, so it says that it has a version update. So I would assume that would be a new button appearing here if this could be upgraded. But again, I haven't seen anything like that, but now it is possible. And still staying on the Zigbee devices and this actual view, there is also a new function that you can edit these icons. So if you go into the settings and if you select display as, now you have a set of default icons that you can pick from, and also you can create your custom ones. So you can upload images that should be in PNG or JPEG or GIF format, and you can create your own. So I've downloaded where is it? I've downloaded a picture of like an amp, like a audio amp, and it made it into a custom thing. So the only thing which I noticed, actually this is the one, is that you know, this is how the image looks like, but in this overview everything is rounded off. So I think, and now you can see that the edges of the image is clipped. So if you are, you know, planning to do your own pictures, so probably pick something which is in a rounded format, because it will get clipped here in this view anyway. Going from the devices to the scenes, here we have the same search functionality. So if you have a scene, I mean, at some point you probably are going to have a lot of scenes, so it makes sense that you have this search option. And so some of these logs have been enhanced as well. So now you can look at when certain scenes were triggered and executed. Also, there are a couple of go back, scene list. Also, there are a few things that you can also do here in the scenes editor. So now you have some drag and drop options to move these around. I don't have any scenes where I have multiple actions, but if you do, then you can just rearrange them by drag and drop. You know, nothing major, but again, it just makes it a little bit easier instead of, you know, deleting something if you want to reorder them. And we also get a new copy button. So if you are, you know, going to apply the same sort of logic to multiple devices, you have to do once, and then you can just easily copy and then maybe only change the condition or the action. Again, it just helps you to create more of these scenes easily and spend less time configuring them. Next option and next set of enhancements is around the cast. Here, most of the changes again related to support for more devices and more sort of like layouts. And so there's nothing really special about them. So here in the select devices tab, you have more devices that you can now use and put onto your cast screen. And as you can see, there are even more devices where the charts can be displayed. So pretty much all the energy monitoring devices and all the temperature and the humidity sensors now can also display graphs. So you can see how those values change over time. nothing really changed on the selected screens. And then the chart, again, POWCT is available for power consumption chart, and the settings is same as before, so nothing has changed there. So where do I close this? So I think yeah, this screen requires a slightly bigger screen than what I have at the moment, and that's how the cast screen looks like. So yeah, nothing really changed here. Of course, more UI elements for the various device types. So for example, if I have this person sensor, let me just oh, it's not this sensor. So I just open up the cupboard where this sensor is. So I thought it's going to trigger, but I think it was probably another sensor, because I have quite a few of these, either presence sensors or motion sensors. But they also have a corresponding, you know, small UI how you can control them. But these were available before, so nothing really has changed here. But yeah, you have more of these options now. The next section is Docker, where I only want to mention one change, which actually I should cover in a separate video, is the Homebridge integration. So previously we were using this OSNU/Homebridge integration, which is getting decommissioned because there is a new you know, Docker image for HomeKit and Apple Home integration, which is called the Homebridge/Homebridge. So I made a video how to use this original one. So I should also cover this in a separate video, how you migrate from one to another. Probably that's going to need a separate video than mentioning here, but I'm saying, so I'm still using this Homebridge integration, it is working, but sooner or later I would need to go to this newer version anyway, because that's what would be supported in the future. So that's a change, which sort of like an admin change that we have to do, but yeah, hopefully it's not going to be very complicated. The Matter support has been added to the iHost as well, and that allows the iHost to share the devices as Matter devices onto a Matter network. So I think this is an important feature, and probably is going to be an important feature in the future. I am sure that at the moment you can see that it shows all the devices that are not supported at the moment. So there is quite a long list. But again, just like how they add support to new devices, they would add support to new devices for the Matter sharing. Again, I think it's going to be a nice feature, because let's say if we get to the point where most of the devices are going to be supported in Matter, I think that's going to be an option for you to create a local home automation system using iHost, where you know, iHost is controlling all your devices, it has all the logic and everything, and then you can just share this over this Matter sharing, let's say to Google or Alexa or Matter, and then you can just use that as your main, you know, like dashboard panel. Because obviously you can use the cast screen in order to control your devices when you are at home, but this cast is only available locally. So once you leave your home, you have the option to either use the Tailscale integration, which you can see here. So this is something that I haven't set up, but that allows you to VPN into your home network, so you have access to your iHost and the iHost cast. But as an alternative, what you can do is you can basically just share your devices to Matter, and then rely on either Google, Alexa, Apple, or, you know, SmartThings to use its sort of remote access capability to control those devices. So it's really up to you which route do you want to go to, but that's definitely going to be available. So as just like before, we have multiple ways of achieving the end results, and I think that's going to be a nice option as well. The next thing is the pilot features. Here we have seen most of it already. I think I have talked about the Zigbee Cube, which let me just mention in case it was a long time ago, but that just enables the iHost to use non-Sonoff devices, or sorry, non-Sonoff Zigbee devices as well. So in one of my previous videos, I managed to integrate or managed to assign one of the, like a generic Zigbee switch that I purchased from Temu, and it was working fine in iHost, and that's thanks to this Zigbee to Cube integration. So you just need to turn it on, and that's it. It's going to do its magic automatically, and you can see that it already supports quite a few different sensor types, and that list is, you know, growing as well. So, you know, if you buy something at Lidl or, you know, Xiaomi or IKEA, then you would be able to use this. You will be able to use more devices here in the iHost than as you can use in NS Panel Pro. So, for example, that Zigbee switch that I mentioned just a couple of seconds ago, it was working in iHost and NS Panel Pro didn't recognize it. So, there you have it. Turbo mode is something that I already mentioned, and it's the same with NS Panel Pro. The Bluetooth speaker option I've also mentioned as well. So the new thing is this is EV-Link remote control. So again, I'm going to refer back to some of the other videos that I did for the R5 switch and the S-Mate. So those are you know, small battery operated switches that communicate with a host device using Bluetooth. And these host devices are, for example, NS Panel Pros or I think the TX or the T1 switches, and one of the new basic Sonoff basic as well, if I can remember correctly, because quite a few devices, and again the list is growing. So now iHost can be one of those. So you can have just an iHost, and if any of these switches within the Bluetooth range of the iHost, then you can just link them. You don't have to buy a separate you know, smart switch just for this EV-Link remote functionality. So yeah, it's, you know, it's cool. It's, you know, new functionality. The hardware was already available, so they might as well just use it. And the last thing is the Wi-Fi option. So when the iHost came out, then we had to plug it into a network port, and I didn't, you know, spend much time exploring the innards of the iHost, so I haven't really realized that there is actually a Wi-Fi chip. And so now this device is out for, what is it, 2 years now, 1.5 years, and now they just only enable the Wi-Fi functionality. I mean, it's nice, but to be honest, if you have like a central home automation thing, it's not something that you want to have it on display anyway, I think. I mean, it does have a few buttons that you can, you know, use to enable or disable the alarm system, but I think in most cases that's going to live in a cupboard or some other place where you have your router and some of the other devices as well. So having a restriction that it can only connect via the Ethernet cable, I think that's absolutely fine. I had no issues with that. But for those who, for one reason or another, don't have access to the cable, or whether you have where you have the cables, you don't have enough space anymore, yeah, you have the Wi-Fi option. Just read these comments here, because you know, if you are changing between Wi-Fi and Ethernet, then it may cause some issues. But again, I think the point is that if you buy this device now, you can decide right in the beginning, okay, do I have Ethernet? Then you're going to use it. Most probably you're going to use it through Ethernet. But if you don't have that, then, you know, switch on the Wi-Fi, and from that point start using as a Wi-Fi device. And finally, a few bits and bobs in the settings. So first thing is, now you have a language option here. So by default, you can switch between Chinese and English. And now you have an option to download all the language settings. So you can, you know, make those changes yourself, and then you can upload them. And that's how you can localize the iHost. So let me just resize this, because there is a question mark here. And that basically tells you what you need to do in order to do it. I mean, obviously download it, and then you can edit the template, and then, you know, make sure that you're editing it correctly, because that's like a big JSON file, and then you can upload it. So this is all nice and good. I have downloaded this, and it's 185K. So it's like loads of text. So if you are planning to do it for your language, I think it's going to take some time. And there is so much text on this you know, device. Not to mention that you do all this translation, and sometimes the text is not going to fit, so you have to go back and change again, maybe, you know, shorten the text. So I mean, it's going to be, you know, a sizable effort to localize it yourself. And I haven't really seen, or maybe I was just not really good at looking, a repository where some of the, let's say, user contributed translations are available. So I'm pretty sure that somebody has done, you know, the major languages, let's say German, French, and Spanish, or Portuguese, or some of these. So I think, well, it should be available somewhere. But if you live in a country where, you know, with a smaller population, with a less, you know, known language like myself, then, you know, doing the translation, that's going to take some effort. And with this, I think we got to the end of the changes. As you can see, now we are on version 2.2.0, and that's the current version at the moment. And so these are the main settings here in the iHost, but I also want to show you that there are, you know, you can also hover over this, so it shows you like CPU temperature and memory allocation, that sort of stuff. But this button is also available here, and actually there are some really good options or links here, which is going to show you what are the supported Zigbee devices and what are the supported Wi-Fi devices, and what devices are supported for the Matter bridge. So that is going to take you some web pages, and it is a good idea to check on these web pages from time to time, because that's how you can, you know, check whether, you know, the device that you have or the devices you have is supported. Or if you're planning to purchase a new device, you can check whether, you know, that's supported in the iHost. So I was talking about this Matter integration, so now you can easily see that these are all the devices that are supported in the Matter bridge at the moment. So as you can see, it is mainly plugs and switches and lights, but yeah, none of the sensors at the moment. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But again, if you want to have those external, you know, control, and you don't want to set up the VPN integration because you think that's going to be too complicated, then you can just, you know, share your, you know, plugs and switches and lights through the Matter integration. So, and you still have access to at least those devices on your, let's say, Google, Apple, or Alexa app. So that might be just an easier way of doing remote access to, let's say, a set of selected devices than setting up a VPN using the Tailscale integration. But with this, I think I've reached the end of this video. If you want to buy your own iHost, I'm going to leave some affiliated links in the video description. But I think that should be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you next video.